Order, hello, and welcome to Video Game Town's Town Hall Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Jared Russo, and I am here today with the excellent, the astonishing, the sensational, and phenomenal Grant Bruner.
Hello, Jared.
You always like to discuss animals that we have seen recently to intro pods. I'm living with a giant bunny.
Giant?
I think it's the name of the breed of the animal. It's like a 9 or 10 pound bunny. It's a big boy.
Is it a giant miniature space hamster?
I think the official breed of the bunny is like a Norwegian giant something or
Norwegian were-rabbit?
Or the rabbit from Monty Python that kills people. Its name is Cinnabon, and it is like a cinnamon, white and brown speckled bunny who is the bane of my existence. Just a terror. Pissing and shitting in places it should not. Flipping toys, running around, hiding under a couch, just being a real menace. This chaos demon really makes me think of a game that you and I have both been playing called Doom the Dark Ages, and I expected this rabbit to show up in the game, but it has not, and I've completed it. I've 100%ed this game. There is no killer rabbit from Monty Python.
But have you went and looked for Easter eggs left by a rabbit, Jared?
I know the devs put Easter eggs in there.
No, the devs didn't. The fucking Easter Bunny did, Jared.
Listen, I'm Jewish. I have never once believed in the Easter Bunny, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I played through the first 6 chapters. I actually played through the 6th one, which is, I would say, the worst of the ones that I've played so far. I played through that today. I had played through the first 5 earlier in the week, and then I had played through one today, so I would be fresher for the podcast. And so let me start with the good stuff, because I often start, when I discuss video games, I often start with the things that drive me crazy, because that's just how my brain works. So I'll start with the good stuff. I think that the raw shooting and the parrying and using the different buttons to do different things, you're shooting your shield away, you're lifting your shield up, you're doing the shield to do parrying, and then you're having various guns, and the various guns have different modes. I think all that works really well. And I will say there is something nice about the old-timey feel of a classic linear video game where it's like, where you need to go? It's where they have placed power-ups or replenishment ammo or whatever on the, you just walk in a line and you're like, okay, well, there's power-up stuff over here, so this is probably where I need to go. Not nothing. That is a good part of old-timey video games. Man, is any time they try to tell story pretty bad. Character models, spiritually and not literally, they evoke a PS3 era character model. And obviously it's higher polys, obviously a higher resolution, textures. Not saying that it's literally a PS3 thing. I'm saying is that it evokes that time period in terms of how the models look, how the characters in cutscenes look. I would say look more like you're moving around dolls than it does in something like a Last of Us, where you're like, oh no, these look like stylized people or whatever, and you have very believable movements, very believable skin, and the tech to represent what humans look like. Looks very much like a much more primitive than, I would say, the high-end people look like now in video games.
You are correct. The story is dog water. Ignore it. I don't know why they keep attempting more and more stories in each of these games. Just make it really goofy funny or just move on. Don't try to.
Yeah, they're trying to take it more seriously, which is crazy, because it's I don't care about any of this. And it's not that I'm inherently unwilling to care about it, because obviously Wolfenstein, they've added a buttload of story into those games, and that's the best part of the fucking game. Those parts are awesome. So it's not like it's impossible to take this, older style of first-person shooter and then, modernize it with some cinematic or storytelling elements to it. I just think that the choices that they make here are bad.
I mean, Hollywood decided to make a movie out of Doom and not Wolfenstein. We all saw how that went.
There's all I remember of it is there's a first-person segment, right?
There is, yes. Yeah, this game is... I've written a review for the website. This game is so fucking awesome. Holy balls. You're ripping off Cyber Cthulhu's head, piloting a Pacific Rim mech. You're whipping a flail around, and there's a laser dragon with turrets on its shoulders. This is just the greatest heavy metal album cover come to life. And it is so much fun, and it's paced well. They keep giving you, new upgrades or new guns or new abilities and new things for your shield, at a good clip. It sacrifices nothing and it only adds the good stuff. Like, it doesn't like have like the platforming from Returnal, but it still feels fast, even though like it's more like heavy and grounded because you're like parrying, and it's a joy to play. You're right. There is something that this does that embraces old school games without giving up quality of life. Whereas like the Oblivion remake, there's a lot of like, man, this was game design back then. And this, it's like, yeah, it's linear, it's level based, but everything is like handcrafted, and it's just like there's a good flow to the maps where you're like, oh, I'm finding all the secrets, and like everything is like well thought out. It has that old school Halo campaign vibe where it's like the soldiers are around and they're talking, and then there's like an old evil alien in like a floating chair as like a boss fight, and you're like, this is very Halo 2. Man, what a great fun game. I'm so glad this exists.
I don't think I'm going to continue on with it. I think some of it is the first couple of levels, I think, were very different from each other. Flying around on a dragon level, there's the you're in a mech level, and that's all very novel. And like, in some ways, a very, like, Bayonetta, in that, like, hey, here's some wild, giant scale bullshit happening, and each level is different and weird in different ways.
But no sexy lady.
Well, yeah, there's no hair witch, unfortunately, which is the character just, like, because in the dialogue, it's just, like, witch and then hell priest. See, if they have gone hair witch, then we're in a different place.
I think there's a boss fight. It's like a named character, and it's like and witch, and she's just like there.
The thing about the sixth chapter that I really ended up not liking is the way they do. I'm gonna have huge scare quotes here. The way that they have puzzles is you're in an environment and you really just have to like crane your head and pixel hunt, like in the style that people criticize point and click adventure games. Is like, oh, it's pixel hunt, you just gotta click on every fucking pixel until you find a thing you can interact with. I think in some ways that's the way that they have designed puzzles. Okay, I have to figure out how to get to open up this fucking gate. And so I just, like, crane the camera up and look around for things I can press the button on. Or I have to, like, go and walk around all the rooms and look in every corner to find, like, a switch to throw. And I just find that shit so fucking boring.
Interesting. So I don't think the game does that too often. I think a lot of that is just for hidden areas.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any problems finding a lot of that stuff because it usually involves throwing your shield at the big red cross to like break a chain, or something green or something like blue to like power up like a gear. So it's usually just like, yeah, there are some times where you have to like, there's like a lever or you push in a skull in like the hell levels. But I didn't, maybe it's because like I was just like in the zone and I didn't have a problem finding any of that stuff.
It's not like it took forever. It just was boring. Yeah. Like, I'm like, here's 10 minutes of my life, and I'm having a, like, I'm actively bored with this, like, the way that they have made this, quote, puzzle.
I guess I don't know if it's a puzzle. Like, a puzzle is a hard term to throw around because it's not like you're solving anything.
It's totally
just like
a puzzle.
You're just fighting it.
Like, the one I'm thinking of, there's like 3 of those like red crosses, but they have gates around them. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can do 2 of them down here, and now I have to figure out how the fuck to get up to get something to like open the 3rd gate so I can whack the 3rd one with a shield or whatever.
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah.
I know the solution. It's like figuring out the steps to get to that solution. It's not like it took, again, it's not like it took like me an hour or anything, but the process of doing it, where like, oh, I understand how to solve this, I just need to find the things, I find like really boring, just extremely uninteresting.
I was in the zone. I was listening to the music. I was like just taking in the atmosphere. I'm like I 100%ed it because I went around those levels trying to find everything. And thankfully the map, you just get the map. So it's like you don't have to like in the previous Dooms, which I replayed, you have to like find like a little machine that like gives you the map. Whereas this, it's like as long as you just kind of like go around and you don't have any like gray hidden areas, you know, like you've walked around enough, you will get the entirety of the map in which you can like, okay, now I can sort of like piece together like beneath me or above me or if this wall is smashable. But those are mostly secrets. I mean, I know that there are some objectives that are like, kill 3 of these big trees in order to progress. That's so interesting you bring that up because I never thought twice about that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. You get through it and then you get back to shooting dudes, which is the good part, but didn't have a good time for that, you know, like 10 minutes or something. I mean, I'm locked in this thing, or not locked in, but like, I need to progress. This is how you progress. And I just didn't think that was very good. It's not the end of the world. It's not like, oh, well, this ruins the game. This makes the rest of the game unplayable. But just like, I would just get rid of that. I'd just delete that from the game, which is a thing I think about sometimes in games as like, oh, you've added this thing because you feel, or like your team feels like the game needs more complexity. But I'm like, the game would probably just be better if you just didn't do that. If you just deleted that, you didn't even like replace it with something better. You just hit delete and you just didn't have it at all.
There is an ephemeral, immutable quality to certain games where you're compelled to push past the quote-unquote bad parts.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of Dark Souls that, like, on paper doesn't make sense, or it's just straight up, like, garbage. But it's like, when you're in it, it's like you want to overcome it. It's like you're willing to push past, like, the runbacks to a boss for me. And I'm sure there's a lot of things like that in a lot of other games. I'm sure point-and-click adventures have their share of this, where it's like, it's hard to sit there and, like, I know this is a problem, but I'm so into this. It's like, it kind of just blends into the background. You're like, all right, well, this is just a part of, like, this is the lost money I've thrown at this. It's like, I have this game, I'm getting through it, because the parts that are so good are so fun that the downsides are not enough to persuade, or dissuade me from, like, continuing on. I figured this is something that you would probably have played on Game Pass, so it's just an easy, like, I have it, whatever, throw it back. I'll play something else on Game Pass.
Yeah, we've gotten some numbers they've thrown out where it's like, this is being played by the most people in this time period than any Doom game, which is like code for not selling to those people. People are playing it on Game Pass, which is fine, and then part of what they're doing, like part of their, their strategy, like the CCUs on Steam are not great, and it does seem like Game Pass is certainly eating that, where people are not buying it, where something like Obsidian or whatever they're remaking, it's like those seem fine. Like people seem to be not only, like, obviously people play it on Game Pass, but there's like a substantial amount where people just like will buy this game on Steam and play it, and it seems like significantly fewer people are doing that with Doom Dark Ages. And I think some people have basically said this seems more like a sidequel. It doesn't feel necessarily like it's like the next Doom. It's like, here's some Doom to tide you over, in the same way as like there's intermediate Wolfenstein stuff. Like, hey, here's some games in the Wolfenstein universe that if you really care about it, then you can do this. But, it's not Wolfenstein 3.
I can't speak for how millions of people who are not you and I feel. This is absolutely a sequel, and a much improved sequel to Eternal, with all new stuff and new guns, and the way you play it is like fundamentally different because of the shield. I think this is maybe the best of the modern Doom games. I really like this one.
Yeah, I was having a pretty good time with it. I skipped Eternal entirely because the way that people talked about it when it came out was just like, okay, so there's Doom's 2016, right? It's that, but way more technical and hard. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not like a diehard first-person shooter person, so I'm like, okay, make it more annoying to play. It doesn't sound appealing to me.
Yeah, they added some stuff. Like, I love platforming, but they also added some stuff where it's like you're playing as like a demon sometimes, but they don't really flesh that out. Eternal's a weird nut to crack. In terms of how this is doing, is it out on PlayStation? Because I feel like this is a great PlayStation, like, hey, we don't have any exclusive this year. Here's Doom 6 months later, and it would sell great on PlayStation.
I'll look it up. I don't think it is. It is definitely out on PC. Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah, it's on PlayStation. It's on PlayStation 5, on Windows, and on Xbox.
That's not a great sign for Bethesda. And
but who knows? The CCUs are only on Steam. Like, we don't have any ability to like, it will take, because like they'll post charts, like Sony will post charts the following month on like what were the most downloaded games in like North America and Europe. So like we'll get some idea of where it stacks up, but it's not like Steam services concurrent users like via their API, and so people are able to look at that, which is the only reason why people talk about CCUs to begin with, because it's like, it's not the be all, especially for like a single player game. Like, the number of people who are playing it at one time kind of doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if people are logged in at the same time or not for a single player game. It has no relevance. The only reason people talk about it is because here is a data point that is like publicly accessible, and like total sales from each platform are not something that we can like, see into. So it's just people trying to like read tea leaves based on the numbers that we do have to see how well things are going, or trying to like at least compare apples to apples. Like, okay, how did this compare to Doom 2016? How did this compare to Doom Eternal? And it's significantly lower, but again, this is the first one on Game Pass, so that does inherently change the math.
I'm flabbergasted that companies allow that data to be sort of just like doled out by Steam. Like it seems like everyone is like locking up every number they can and refuses to release any numbers because
they only release numbers when it is something that makes them look good. It's like, hey, we're Netflix. And did you know every person on the planet watched this thing?
I mean, it's hard to believe even the numbers that
they're definitely
stuff,
cooking the books, let's say, or like maybe there is in some technical way that this is true, but probably not in the way they're implying a level of dominance that is perhaps not really there and is only true in some small technical sense, in the way that like it automatically plays on the start page of Netflix, so that counts.
Yeah, it counts as a view. How much money a game takes to produce, how many people worked on it over the course of its life, who were let go or were freelance, like all these things we don't know, but here's what I do know. An Elder Scrolls game that can last you a gazillion hours, that has built-in nostalgia for like one of the best-selling games of all time in Skyrim, that would be a game people purchase, whereas a Doom game seems like something you would want to rent because it doesn't last as long. So like I'm not shocked that like the numbers on those two things are completely different, even though they're both Game Pass games, they're from the same parent publisher, and you know what I mean? So it's like I understand the need to
kind
compare
of like
them.
Ownership on something that is a lengthy RPG of like, no, this is my game and I want to make sure that I have all of these saves here and I can maintain it and I can mod it over time, whereas like, fuck it, I'll play 15 hours of Doom.
What a great 15 hours it was. God, I'm just like lighting people on fire, and there's a gun that shoots like a ball and chain, the grenade launchers, the grenades turn into like little mini grenades that bounce onto, oh man, what fucking awesome. The super shotgun Grant.
Yeah, that's Doom. It's fine.
Have you played anything else this week? Because I have played another new release.
Clair Obscur. I'm almost to the end. I have gotten pretty far. One might say, let's say the monolith is involved. I don't want to get too spoilery, but I think so far it is very much a Game of the Year contender for me. And not only is the story hitting, and not only are the character interactions really hitting for me, I think the thing about it that is so surprising or like so impressive is it has those elements of the things that like I really love about an RPG, but it also has such a dynamic and interesting combat system that when you really dig into it, it can seem a little bit overwhelming at first, and that there are so many like levers you can pull. But when you find like a handful of reliable things that to like stack status effects and synergies between characters, so like I'm gonna dump fucking loads of sacks of burn on this and then have somebody who then triggers that burn or like uses a thing to get that burn, and then that becomes so they're like 200% power based on hitting an enemy with burn. It allows you to do really interesting and fun things with your combat. And also one of the things that it does that I fucking love, and I wish more RPGs did this, which is that if let's say you're fighting a boss and you have a party kill, so you're fighting 3 characters at a time. If all 3 characters fall, you have the ability to call in your remaining characters to say, okay, these 3 people fell in battle, but there are still 2 more people who weren't in your party. They can go in. So if you're like, an inch away on this boss's health meter and all 3 of your characters fall, you still have the opportunity to beat that boss with the remaining characters that weren't in your party to begin with. I think that's awesome, and I wish there was more of that in video games.
I mean, if there are JRPGs that don't have that seems like, they should have that.
Well, lots of games do, where it's like if they fall, if your party falls, then you just got to start from whatever your last save point.
I mean, I know that in any Mario RPG, if like Mario falls, it's like his sidekicks, his companions. It's not like they all rush in. It's like, no, Mario's dead. That's it.
When Mario dies, all you have is Luigi.
No, see, Luigi in those games, he's always on his own adventure that he tells you about, and he has like his own set of sidekicks.
It involves going into a city with a backpack. Don't worry about it.
I got to a point where a character dies in that game, and then a bunch of other stuff came out, and I haven't gone back to it yet. But that was my favorite character for gameplay, and so now I'm a little like, oh, who's going to replace him?
Good news. There are characters that replace them.
But that person was my favorite. And we'll see. I've been playing Capcom Fighting Collection 2, and that has games that I care about and some that I didn't care about, but then I played them and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. How interested are you in it? Because there's one franchise in it that
Which games are in there?
The one franchise I'm alluding to that might interest you is Power Stone and Power Stone 2.
I didn't have a Dreamcast, so I'm aware of them, and in some ways it is a party fighter in a way that, even if it is not identical, it has some similarities to Smash Brothers. I've never played Power Stone, but I do know I have met multiple people who are diehard Power Stone people.
So I never owned a Dreamcast, but I went over to enough people's houses in elementary school, because that was 99 for me. I played enough Power Stone in other people's houses to know that Power Stone is awesome. That is a really fun game. It is something that you're like never going to get. It's like a perfect blend of like an arcade cabinet kind of feel with like multiplayer, good like gauntlet, like 4 people standing next to each other, that kind of multiplayer. Has a bit of like fighting game stuff to it.
Yeah, the party game feel of like, this is a fighting game, but like in a way that Smash Brothers is that like you can have a bunch of people who don't play fighting games come and play Power Stone. Not like, well, this is Street Fighter, so only fucking dorks are going to be here playing Street Fighter against each other.
Yes, so those are in it, and those are great. I haven't gone into online, but just playing those, it's like, hell yeah. We need to bring that back, and we need to bring back the grid from Midway.
Anything else? Any other interesting games in there? Like, I assume that a Street Fighter collection is separate?
Yeah, so there's a separate like Street Fighter Anniversary collection, and there's so many of these collections. There's like a Marvel vs. Capcom one. There's like a Darkstalkers one, but it also had like Super Puzzle Fighter 2, like, and Red Earth. This one is Capcom versus SNK 1 and 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, Capcom Fighting Evolution, Plasma Sword, and Project Justice. I would say the bulk of this purchase for most people is going to be for the 2 Capcom versus SNKs and for Power Stone. And they're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful. Ton of characters. The music, it's phenomenal.
Power Stone, I mean, like, it's cool, and I'm glad that it's available to play on like a modern system. That's rad. I feel like Capcom versus SNK is, one, going to be more popular in Japan than it is in the United States, because SNK has a much higher profile over there. And 2, I feel like the people who are going to be attracted to it are just fighting game perverts. The people who love
yep
that. It's not a general popular, like, listen, plenty of normies have played Street Fighter, and I feel like very few American normies are going to be playing Capcom versus SNK.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to get into because they're really good ports, and they have lots of like unlockable art and behind the scenes stuff and online play and a training mode. So like they added all the quality of life things you would want to see, which is not really any different from the previous collections they've had, but it is just great that like I can play CVS 2. I can play it online, like, after basically forever of, like, you didn't have a Dreamcast or, like, a PS2 or all these, like, weird sort of, like, one-off ports. Like, you had to emulate it, and it's very hard to, like, plug in my arcade stick and, like, play, like, an emulated thing against the computer, where now it's, like, a dream. It's just, like, it's so easy to just be like, oh, yeah, my controls are saved. And, like, you can turn off the filters, you can make the filters all, the scan lines and all that other fun stuff. So, the timing is not great because it kind of came out in a very crowded late winter, early spring kind of, like, there's a ton of stuff out.
Has Capcom ever put out Children of the Atom again, like in a collection or an updated version?
Yeah, in the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection.
Okay. Maybe I should get that, because I have much stronger feelings about Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah, it's the Punisher arcade game, it's Children of the Atom, it's Marvel Superheroes, and then it's X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, MVC1, MVC2. And
back when arcades were actual real things that people went to, my fate, probably the thing that I played the most of, well, maybe the thing I played the most of is Soul Calibur 2 eventually, but earlier than that, when I was young, the thing I played was the X-Men brawler, because, like, I think the cabinet that I had access to was 4-player, but they had the 6-player one. What an incredible game that is. And they put it out on PS3 and Xbox 360, but I don't think it's available on modern platforms.
No, it's not. And you basically have to just emulate it again, but you don't get that, like, 6-person long screen kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but what a game.
You know that Soul Calibur 2 is coming to the Nintendo Switch too, right?
Which is fine, But it's going to be the GameCube version, and not like because they released it, and unfortunately, it's no longer available. Soul Calibur 2, they made an HD version for PS3 and Xbox 360, and it works on Xbox Series X. If you have the license, if you had purchased it, you can play it on your Xbox Series consoles. An HD version of Soul Calibur 2 that is one, like HD, it's running at high resolutions, yada yada, it has achievements, all that good stuff. But also it has both Hayachi and Spawn. The only guest character it doesn't have is Link. And so like the only thing that this version has going for it is that Link is there and playable, and that's cool. But for everything else, it's, you're running a GameCube game.
But it has Link in it.
That's fine. I played a lot of GameCube Soul Calibur 2.
I mean, so did everyone. I have some heartbreaking news for you, Grant. I think due to a number of factors, the original plan for our entire friends group of purchasing Elden Ring, Night Rain, and playing it together is now turning into none of us are going to purchase that game.
I certainly am not.
There was a plan for a 3-man group. We were all going to do it, and then life happens. I'm on vacation. You can't play it with 2 people. You have to play it with 3, and it just became a matter of like, are any of us going to be around? Should we purchase this? Do we even like the concept of a multiplayer Elden Ring thing? And then it just became like, Switch 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get me a Switch 2, without waiting in a hilarious line. Because for so long I was like, I don't need a Switch 2. I'll play Mario Kart eventually, but I didn't need. And then we started making a video game website, and I was like, well, fuck. I guess I should probably get a Switch 2 if I can.
I mean, there's really only 2 games. It's Mario Kart at launch, and it's Donkey Kong in July. I don't think there's anything new or even that interesting, unless you just want to be like, here are the updates for these older games. Like, this runs better. Like, that's cool. If you haven't played those, or you really, really love Tears of the Kingdom or something, but... Well,
there's going to be Metroid, and I know that it's cross-platform, but come on.
When is that coming out?
Later this year.
So you have time.
Certainly I do have time. And I'm not, like I said, if I have the ability, like if I am on Blue Sky and I see Wario 64 say, good news everybody, you can get a Switch 2, I will get a Switch 2. If it is go stand in a 30-person line at a GameStop, the answer is no.
I think if collectively everyone and everyone I know gets our hands on an extra, or gets an email from Nintendo saying like, hey, like, because you're so loyal, like, you can pre-order it here, and there'll be, I think eventually we'll be able to get you one. But I'm just looking at the release calendar for this summer, and the glut that we had the last few months is basically going to run dry. The only big thing coming out is Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
And then you get the Tony Hawk 3-4 and Donkey Kong. And I think that's pretty much it.
Presumably there's also stuff that Nintendo hasn't talked about. We'll see.
But that has to be for August, September, October. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, I'm okay with there being like a dry spell for people to catch up on things, or to play things on their Switch 2s that they hadn't before. But for me, you'd have to get to August, and it's like Mafia: The Old Country, not Gears Reloaded. That's an old game. Metal Gear Solid Delta is technically an old game, but it's a complete reimagining. So that's, I mean, for me, that counts as something that's like new. The Shinobi platformer, Hell Is Us, Borderlands 4.
We'll figure it out. Let's get into our game.
Oh yeah, you have a game for us.
Yes, let's play a game. I'm going to call this Their First Game. I have a series of popular video game studios, and I want you to work out what their first video game is, because I think you'll be surprised a lot of the time that the video game that you probably most associate them with early on is not actually their first video game. I'm going to start out with BioWare. What is BioWare's first video game?
Is it an RPG?
No.
All right, then it has to be like a racing game, or like a weird licensed platformer or something, right? Like Commander Keen, something like that.
Those are good guesses. Shattered Steel is a 1996 mech sim developed for MS-DOS. Baldur's Gate, the RPG that brought them in the mainstream and set the tone for the rest of their output, did not come out until 1998. This is 2 years earlier.
Get out of here. Are you kidding me? They made a mech game?
They did. That was their first... Because BioWare, started by doctors, was like, oh, hey, this is for, like, medical software. And they're like, what if we made a game? And so they did. They made a mech sim, and then they just turned into a video game studio. The next...
Man, Anthem. They made Anthem.
They did eventually make Anthem. The next one, Obsidian.
Is this one an RPG?
It is an RPG. You might be able to guess this one. You want a hint?
I don't know. Yeah, give me a hint.
It is a sequel to an established game that had come out relatively recently. It's a 2004 game.
Oh, wow, 2004. Okay, so they weren't Neverwinter Nights, were they?
BioWare made the first Neverwinter Nights. Obsidian made the second Neverwinter Nights.
But that's not their first game, is it?
Nope.
Is the same thing for Baldur's Gate? Are they one of the people who did like a Baldur's Gate spinoff?
No.
Man.
But I will give you another hint. This is a BioWare sequel.
What? Oh, you tell me KOTOR 2?
Yep, KOTOR 2, 2004.
That's the first?
Xbox Pause and Play follow-up to the Star Wars RPG made by BioWare. Alpha Protocol, their first game with original IP, didn't come out until 2010. id Software.
It's not Doom, is it?
It is not Doom.
This feels like a weird, again, like a Commander Keen, like, we technically did, like, Lemmings.
It is Commander Keen in an invasion of the Vorticons, released in 1990 for MS-DOS. Wolfenstein 3D, arguably their most influential work, didn't release until 1992, and Doom wouldn't hit until 1993.
Yeah, okay. I knew one of those was going to come up, or it's like rock and roll racing, or some crap like that.
One might imagine multiple versions of this is the entire point of the game. Epic Games!
Oh, wow. This, what year?
It is a 1991 game for MS-DOS.
Oh, I'm so never going to get this.
I
feel like
honestly,
it's like something that's even worse than Bugsy.
I'm gonna say an action puzzler is the best hint I can give you. You're not gonna get it.
What in that an action? What?
Yeah, like an action adventure game with puzzling.
I'm never gonna get this.
ZZT, an action puzzler, was released in 1991 for MS-DOS by Tim Sweeney under the brand name Potomac Computer Systems. The company quickly changed its name to Epic Games. However, their FPS Unreal did not release until 1998.
Do we know what, like, their second game is? Because, like, I've never even heard of that.
I can look it up. I did look these up, and mind you, if you have any qualms with any of this, take it up with Wikipedia. They're the ones who made the list that I'm, so like, ZZT, then Best of ZZT, ZZT's Revenge, Super ZZT, then Adventure,
Rabbit.
Jack Rabbit did not come out until 1994.
Oh my god! I isn't that Cliff Bleszinski, and that's like the whole epic. Yeah,
a good old Cliffy B. Bethesda Softworks.
It's not Elder Scrolls 1.
Yeah, this is before they where Softworks becomes the bigger company, and then they have a separate. So this is just one big Bethesda. 1986 on the Amiga.
No, I'm literally never going to get this.
Gridiron with a Bang came out in 1986 on the Amiga. The Elder Scrolls Arena, their first entry into their infamous franchise, wouldn't release until 1994, 8 years later.
Some of the stuff I've never heard of.
Maxis.
Those are the Sims people.
Mm-hmm, they are.
What year did this
1989, various home computer systems.
See, once you start getting into, like, old PCs in the 80s, that's where you start losing me.
Well, see, this is the whole point of the game, is that you're going to think that it's going to be the game that people know them by, and most of the time it's not. Make a guess.
Barbie Horse Adventures.
SimCity was their first release in 1989 on various home computers. Various sim-adjacent games would remain their bread and butter.
I'm so close to throwing the laptop out the window.
Larian Studios.
Oh no! See, you're doing like all like the action RPG like fantasy stuff.
These are the people who made
like From Software, which is King's Quest. Give me one of those.
These are the people who. So Larian Studios, they most recently made Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3, yeah.
What are they known for?
Baldur's Gate.
Before that.
Not Baldur's Gate.
LED Wars is an RTS that was released in 1997 for Windows PCs. Divine Divinity, the first entry in their long-running RPG series, Divinity, wouldn't release until 2002.
Can't you throw me like a softball? Can't you throw me an easy one?
Rockstar Games. This is when specify Rockstar North.
So this is not when they were like DMCA or whatever.
This is including their time as DMA Design.
All right, hold on. I'm going to get this one.
You're not going to get it.
Rockstar Games. It's before Body Harvest?
Yeah, it's a horizontal shooter released on the Amiga and Atari ST in 1988.
It's a space game, right?
Horizontal, yeah, it's a shooter. You're in a spaceship shooting.
Oh, man. I feel like I should know this.
Menace, a horizontal shooter, was released on the Amiga and Atari ST in 1988 under the brand DMA Design. Grand Theft Auto, the initial entry in their widely popular crime series, didn't release until 1997. Valve.
I was never going to get that. Valve. They were a support studio helping to make something. It's not Half-Life, is it?
First-person shooter Half-Life released on Windows PCs in 1998. Okay. Undoubtedly, that is the game that put them on the map.
I feel good that I got 2.
Yeah, here's 2 more. Insomniac Games.
Ooh, this is before Spyro.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Hell.
It's a PS1 first-person shooter. Does that help?
It kind of doesn't.
1996.
1996? It's got some dumb name to it, right?
It does. Disruptor, a PS1 first-person shooter released in 1996. Spyro the Dragon, the beloved 3D platformer heavily associated with Insomniac, didn't release until 1998, 2 years later. And the last one, we just talked about this company and your love for them, Sucker Punch.
Oh, Sucker Punch. What did they do before Sly Cooper?
That's a good question.
They did it was like Rocket something.
You got it. Rocket Robot on Wheels is a platformer on the N64. In 1999, Sly Cooper did not hit until 2002. You did better. There was 2 real tricky ones. One is Half-Life, because, obviously, I'm leading you down a path. The other one was SimCity. As, those are the true tricky ones, is that those aren't actually the games that you think they are.
Unreal.
That's the game. How'd you like that?
I didn't like it at all, Grant. Didn't like it one bit.
It was challenging on purpose. If it was easy, then it would be wouldn't be a bit on a podcast, right?
I wanted you to say From Software, and I would have said Kingsfield, and then I would have won.
Kingsfield, actually, Excel. Sorry, they made spreadsheets first.
No, that doesn't count. All right, I'm going to come at you with the quiz, and you're not going to get any answers right, and then you'll feel bad. Ha ha ha.
Sounds good. We'll do that. Well, I mean, honestly, you last time on the intro podcast, you had done best-selling games. I was able to get a handful of them, but there's lots of them that I wasn't able to get.
Terraria. I don't think I've ever seen footage of Terraria.
Oh, come on. You've watched Giant Bomb. You have definitely seen Terraria.
I remember none of it.
Oh, there you go.
Memory hold it. That's going to be it for today. I hope you have enjoyed listening. I know we're going to have a Switch 2 conversation sooner rather than later, because I will be returning from vacation and it should be on my doorstep. Hopefully Target does not A, go out of business, B, cancel my pre-order, or C, send it to the wrong place or something.
Send it to...
Which could all happen.
Abu Dhabi, like you're normal. If you want to see everything we do, you can find all of our socials, all of our platforms at videogame.town. We're on Blue Sky, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok. If it's a platform that is not run by Elon Musk, we're probably on it. Check us out, videogame.town.
Lots of wonderful articles. My Doom review should be up there. A number of personal pieces from Grant should be up there. And at least one psychotically weird long rankings list that I did will also be up there. Thank you for listening. We will see you next time. Adios.
Have a good one.